Shalom, shalom. In today's video, I will be revealing the absolute highest level of Sod regarding the 7 days of creation, and perhaps for the first time ever openly revealing the inner secrets, the inner chambers of the Torah, and not in a speculative way and not in a way that doesn't make sense, but in a way that is practical and revelatory to all of the aspects in the first 7 days of Genesis. So with that being said, let us begin. So to begin with, we're looking at the words Berashit, Bara Elohim et Hashemayim wa et haaretz. And what's important to understand here is that Berashit is created out of the words Berashit, created six. And this is in a reference to Chokmah, as Beit is the first letter of Chokmah. Now, this establishment takes place in the rung of Atziluth. And the Bara here is an allusion to the universe of Bariah, which is where Ima, or Bina, who goes by the name of Elohim, is associated with. So we see Elohim is right next to it. And so we're in the world of Bariah, and concealed in the word of Bereshit is the world of Atzilut. Now we see Et Hashemayim. Well, the Hey in front of the word identifies it as Bina, which again is another seal and proof that we're in the universe of Bariah. And so Hashemayim is the Zeran Pin of Bariah. Wa Et Haaretz. And this is the Nukva of Bariah, like this. And so we see that the Bereshit takes its place in the rung of Atzilut, which is here, and the establishments of a created six, etc., etc., etc. And then we see the rung of Bariah, which is alluded to by the word Bara, which gives us our location and place, mainly in Bariah. Then we see Hashemayim and Haaretz, and the Hey in front of Hashemayim and the Hey in front of Haaretz is an association to Bina, and this helps us identify that we're in the rung of Bariah, because later on we're going to see the word Shemayim and Haaretz, but we're not going to see a Hey in front of it because we won't be in the universe of Bariah. So with that being established that we're in the universe of Bariah, let us continue on. So we then see that the earth was without form and empty in darkness. Now, Ol means upper face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim vibrating upper face of the waters. So what does this mean? So the upper face of the deep, that is void and formless, is referring to the faces, or the Partsufim of Atziluth. And the face that is the upper face of the waters is referring to the Partsufim of Bariah. For at the point that Bariah is here, Atziluth is already constructed. And this is very important to understand that all of the five worlds have all of the five Partsufims, mainly Arikon Pin, which is Kether, Abba, which is Chokmah, Ima, which is Bina, Zeran Pin, which are the lower six Sephiroth, and Nukva, which is Malkuth. And every world has all of these Sephiroth and these Partsufim associated with them. So now that we have the upper face of the deep, the being associated with Atziluth, void and formless, and now we have the face above the waters. Why is it above the waters? Because Atziluth is associated with Shin, Bariah is associated with Aleph, and Yetzirah is associated with Mem, and so it is called the upper face above the waters here. Let us continue. So the next thing we read is Vayomer Elohim Yahi'od, and the word Amar, which is being spoken, is Aleph, Mem, and Resh, and the gematria value here, Aleph is 1, Mem is 40, and Resh is 200. This is an allusion to the 231 gates, as explained in a prior video, which precursored everything for the basic outline and construct of the worlds, and the mystery of the descending and returning light, and then the plus 10 Sephiroth. and the Yod and the Vav are a union of Nukva and Zeranpin. Then it says, where's the union of Nukva and Zeranpin taking place? In Elohim, which, as we know, is Berea. Then it says, Yahi Ord, let be. Now the sages have all stated that the word is not used created here, because the light had already been pre-existent. And so, what does this mean? So, the gematria value of the word Or is 207. And this is the exact gematria value of the word Ein Sof. And Ein Sof, as we know, is in the rung of Atziluth. And as I demonstrated, the Vav and the Yud were a union of Zeranpin and Nukva in the rung of Berea. And then it says Yahi Ord. Well, Yod He Yod is the gematria value 25, which is Kof He, which is another word for Malkuth. And essentially, what this is representing is the link in the drawing down of the Shefa from Atziluth into Bariah, mainly through the faces, or the Partsufim, in both of these rungs, the upper face of the deep, as void and formless, and the upper face above the waters. So with that being said, let us continue. So it goes on to state that he saw the light, that it was good, and he separates the light between the light and the darkness, and he calls the light day, and he calls the darkness night. Evening, morning, day one. And then he goes on to state, and he says, Vayamar Elohim, which is again establishments in the worlds, and Berea, Yahi, so he's transmitting the Or through these faces and Partsufim. Let there be a Rakia in the midst of the waters. So what does this mean? So we're going to find the Rakia in the Zeranpin of Yetzirah. And this is important because, again, it says Vayomer Elohim Yahi, because, again, the establishment had been made there in Berea to Atziluth first, and now that's being transmitted down into Yetzirah, where we see an expanse in the midst of the waters. Now, Yetzirah is associated with waters, as stated here, watermem. That's why these faces of Zeranpin and Nukva and Berea are called the upper face of the waters. And this one down here, it says the Rakia, which is associating with Zeranpin. As the sages have said, there are 7 Rakias, and they all have names as listed off in the Zohar. This is an allusion to the 7 Sephiroth, the lower Sephiroth, in the world of Yetzirah, which we're dealing with. So let us continue. And let it be dividing from the waters and the waters. And what does this mean? This is referring to the 2 mems, the water mem and the earth mem. The water mem being Yetzirah and the earth mem being Isaiah. Then we read Vaya'osh Elohim. And Vaya'osh is in the mystery of Atika Kadisha, who is the craftsman, the worker who's working from the very apex of the 5th world. It says Et HaRakia, in the expanse, and he separated between the waters which were under the expanse, so under the Rakia, and the waters which were above the Rakia. And it was so. And so what does this mean? So the waters that are below the Rakia, which we know is Yetzirah, is an Asaya, which is also associated with the letter Mem. And the waters above the Rakia is associated with the rungs of Berea. And the water is called Torah, as the Zohar reveals. And Torah is being emanated from the highest worlds to the lowest worlds. So with this being established, let us continue. And it goes on to say, and he called the expanse Shemaim, and evening and morning 2nd day. So why is it called Shemaim? Well, earlier we saw that it was called Hashemaim, and as I've demonstrated, this is the world of Berea. Now we see this one is called Shemaim. Now this is in the world of Yetzirah. And there are 7 Rakiyas by the sages, as they've listed them off in Zohar HaKadosh, and they reference the Partsufim taking place in Yetzirah. Now, these Partsufim are the Partsufim of Zeranpin and Nukva. And the Partsufim of Zeranpin is also called Shemayim, or the heaven, or heaven in this case, because it's lacking the Hey, which we see Hashemayim being associated with Zeranpin of Berea. Shemayim is Zeranpin of Yetzirah. With that being established, let us continue. We then read that Vayomer, again, this is allusion to the 231 gates and the connection that's being made between Zeranpin and Malkuth for each rung. Elohim, let be collected the waters under the heavens. So the waters under the heavens is the flow of Shefa, of all of the Sephiroth, below to one place, to Ekkad, because Malkuth received the Shefa of all of them and united all of them, and the word Ekkad means to unite. Then it says, and let appear dry land, and it was so, and Elohim called the dry land Adetz. So Adetz, as the same thing with Shemayim, which was a reference to Yetzirah, Adetz is in a reference to Asaya. And this is important because it separates it from Ha'adetz, which had the Hey in the beginning of it for Bina, which was taking place in Berea, and the Hey in front of it for Shemayim, which identifies it as the Zeranpin of Berea. Now we see that Adetz is being referred to, and all of the waters are being gathered there. What are all of the waters? They are the waters from that rung of Yetzirah, the rung of Beriah, and of course the rung of Atziluth, because they're all enclosed in each other. And so now we're in Asaya, and Asaya is called Adetz without a Hey. So with that being said, let us continue. And we read that Elohim said, let sprout the earth, tender sprouts, the herb, seeding seed, and tree, and fruit, producing fruit after its kind, which its seed is in it, on the earth. And it was so. And bore the earth tender sprouts, the herb, seeding seed after its kind, and tree producing fruit, which is fruit is in it after its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good, and it was the evening and the morning and the third day. So what is it talking about in regards to the earth? Because we see again it says Ha'aretz. And what is this tree with its seed inside of it? Well, as we can see, the seed there is Zero, referencing to Zeranpin. And this Ha'aretz is referring to the world of Berea. So the seeding seed on the earth, Ha'aretz is being referred to in Berea, and the tree producing the fruit is referring to the establishment of Yetzirah from Berea. The establishment, particularly in Yetzirah, is referring to the seed, the tree producing fruit with its seed within it. And the word Zeranpin comes from the word seed. And the word tree is associated with Tifreth, as it is written, man is a tree. And so what we're seeing here is an establishment of Berea establishing Yetzirah for the fructification of Asaya, as we will soon see. So we go on to read, it says, Vayomer Elohim Yahi. And again, Vav is Zeranpin, Yod is Malkuth, and we're linking in the 231 gates. Elohim is from Berea. And it says, let there be luminaries in the expanse. So we're looking at an interaction between Berea and the Rakia, which we know as Yetzirah, in the heavens to divide between the day and between the night. And the day is often associated with Zeranpin, and the night is often associated with Malkuth. In this case, we're looking at an interaction between Yetzirah and Asaya. And let them be for signs, for seasons, and for days, and for years, and let the luminaries be in the expanse again, Barakia, because this is referring to Yetzirah. Hashemayim, this is referring to Berea, and there's an interaction here. To give light, and the light is the Shefa from Atziluth on the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made the two luminaries, one great, and the other one, so Hagadolim and Hagadol. One to rule the day, and the small one to rule the night. and the stars and set Elohim these in the Rakia, in the heavens, to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and to separate between the light and the darkness. And saw Elohim that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. So, as it was stating, it says that let there be luminaries. And what are the luminaries? The luminaries are the establishments of Zeranpin and Nukva. For Zeranpin is called Shemesh, the sun, and Nukva is called the moon. And these are going to be over the earth, referring to Adets, mainly Asaya here. And Hashemayim is referring to Bariah. So it says in the Rakia, in the expanse of the heavens. And this is because there's a link between Bariah, which is establishing Yetzirah, as I've demonstrated, and to divide the day and the night, referring to the lower rungs from the higher rungs, and they'll be for signs and for seasons and for days. And it says that these are to rule over the earth, to give light to the earth. Again, because we're now going to be moving from an establishment of Bariah to Yetzirah, and now we're going into an establishment from Yetzirah to Asaya, as we will now see. And the establishment of the light from Bariah to Yetzirah, and to give light upon the earth, is a key word, because as demonstrated, the word light, or, is the same gematria value as Ayin Sof. And so it's a channeling from the rungs of Atziluth, the establishments in Bariah, the establishments made in Yetzirah, and now we're going into the establishments of Asiya. And we now read, well, Vayomer Elohim, and Elohim said, again, the connections between Zeranpin and Nukva in every rung, and Elohim is from the place of Bariah. Let swarm the waters with living creatures and birds. So the living creatures are an allusion to those living creatures that exist in the rung of Asiya. And these are called the palanquin, which are explained in the Zohar, or the four beasts with the four faces. And these are going to be associated with the establishments of Asiya. And these four faces are in the establishments of the Zeranpin of Asaya. And these faces are called the living creatures. And these living creatures were the ox, the man, the eagle, and the lion. Our key word here is that it says a nefesh chaya, because the word nefesh means soul, and nefesh comes from the rung of Asaya. So now we go on to see that it says wa'of, and birds, and let them fly over the earth. In the upper face of the Rakia Hashemayim. This is important to understand. Ol means upper. The upper face of the Rakia, which is Yetzirah, Hashemayim. What does this mean? The birds are angels, and the birds are given their rung and their place, rightfully so, in the rung of Yetzirah. And so it says, Wa'of, the birds are flying above the earth, because the earth, again, is Asaya. And so the angels have their establishments here in the rungs of Yetzirah, and here in the rungs of Bariah, as stated, because we see that they're flying in the firmament, which is called Rakia, and the heavens, and the Hashemayim, the hay in front of that, identifies it here in Bariah. So now that these angels are being established, and now that we have the living creatures established in Asaya, let us continue. So it says, Vaya bara Elohim et ha-taninim. Now it's referring to this Leviathans, the great Hagadalim, and all of the souls of the living creatures, and the things that creep, swarmed with waters, and after their kind, and every bird winged with after its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good, and he blessed them, saying, Be fruitful, and fill the waters in the seas, and the birds let multiply on the earth. And there was evening, and there was morning the 5th day. Now, what does this mean, and what is the great sea serpent that's being referred to? Well, as I've revealed in my prior videos, the Leviathan is an association with the 231 gates. And as we see, let there be Hatananim, which is Tananim, it has its root in the word Leviathan, or Levi, meaning attached, Tananim. And Leviathan has the exact same gematria value as Malkuth. And this is important because this is in the rungs of Asaya. So with that being said, let us continue. So we're in the rung of Asaya, and it says, Vayomer Elohim, again, because the 231 gates, and the linkings between Zeranpins and Malkuth. So let it bring forth the earth, Nefesh Chaya. This is the establishment, again, taking place in the Zeranpin and the Nukva of Asaya. After its kind, Behema, and creepers and beasts of the earth after its kind, and it was so. What does this mean? Again, the word Nefesh, as I've demonstrated, is an allusion to Asaya. And Behema, and creeping and crawling thing, has its associations with the establishments of Asaya. So with this being established, and the Chaya, the living creatures, having already been established, let us continue on. And then we read, sees that it was good. Vayomer Elohim, again, there's an establishment between all of the Zeranpin, which are the Vav, and all of the Nukvas, which are the Yod, the Malkuth. Let us make man, Adam, in our image. What does it mean in our image? It's in referencing to all of the worlds. The sages say that when Adam was created, he was able to see from one end of the world to the other, mainly meaning from the highest rung in the upper world to the lowest rung in Asiya. According to our likeness, and let him rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the heavens, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over all the creeper and the creeping things on the earth, and created Elohim et ha'adam, in his image, meaning the image of the 5 worlds. In the image Elohim created him. Male and female he created them, meaning backs and fronts. And blessed them, Elohim Vayomer, and he said, and because it's establishments again, to them, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds, and over the heavens, and over all beasts and creeping things on the earth. And Elohim said, Behold, I have given to you every herb seeding seed which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree which its fruit is in it. Now why does it say every tree? Because it's referring to every tree of life for every rung of the 5 worlds. And its seed is in it because every one of the 5 worlds has a seed. And the seed is Zero, as demonstrated. And Zero is for Zeranpin. And why does it say seed seeding? Because every tree is connected to every other tree. And the Shefa is flowing from the highest to the lowest. To you it shall be for food, mainly the sustenance of the Shefa, the Or. So what does this mean? This means that Adam was created in the image of the 5 worlds. And that Adam was able to see from the one end of the world to the other end of the world. And it says that he was to be given rule over all of the beasts of the earth and all of the birds in the firmament, which is the Rekia. And why was he ruler over all of these things? Because his position was the encompassing aspect of all of it. And now it says that Hashem had given to him every tree that its fruit was seeding seed. And the fruit are the word fari, and this comes from the word Sephiroth, and is an allusion to the Sephiroth. The trees are the trees of each rung, and seeding seed. Why mention seeding seed and not just having seed inside of it? Is because the link between Zeranpin to Malkuth, the link between Zeranpin to Malkuth and Berea, the link between Zeranpin and Malkuth and Yetzirah, and the link between Zeranpin and Malkuth and Asaya. And these are the trees that have their seed inside of it seeding. And this is for him to be for food. So now that we have this explained, let us continue. So he's to be ruler over the earth and every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping thing on the earth, which is in it a soul. Why does it say a soul? Because the nefesh is associated with the rung of Asaya, the ruach is with Yetzirah, the neshama is with Berea, so on and so forth. And every green herb for food, and it was so. And Elohim saw all which he had made, and behold, it was very good. There was evening, there was morning, day 6. And what is this an allusion to? Now that we have finally revealed all of these days of creation, the allusion is to the construction and the establishment of all of the 5 worlds. And everything in the days of creation have now been established, and everything has been accounted for. So let us end with day 7, in which he rests. And were finished the heavens and the earth, and all their hosts, and finished Elohim on the 7th day from his works which he had made, and rested on the 7th day from all of his works which he had made, and blessed Elohim that day, the 7th, and sanctified it, because on it he rested from all of his work which he had created Elohim to make. With this being said, we have now received a complete understanding of all 7 days of creation. We have watched the establishment of all of the worlds and everything accounted for. And that which has never been revealed before has now been revealed for the first time in these latter days. Bear in mind very carefully, this is the door into the inner chambers of the Torah. And again, as I stated, what has been revealed in this video has never been revealed before. Shalom. Selah.